Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Bar Talk. I'm Glenn Kennedy. This is my co-host Charles Motz.
Glad to be here today.
How are you doing today, Charles?
Well, I'm doing good today. Beautiful day, isn't
It
it?
sure is a beautiful day. So, Charles, we've had some questions that have been sent to us. So let's answer a few of them. The first one was, uh, West Covina was going to change its name. So, what I know, back I think in 1948, they asked the city to if they wanted to. They had a contest and see if they wanted to change the name from West Covina to something else. And I had a few things cut out there, but it's going to be called Fleetwood. What do you remember from that era?
Well, I remember it was quite a little contest. One of the questions came in, they should call it Deadwood because all the walnut trees were dying. So that didn't go over too big and didn't get done. but,
Yeah, I know they voted on it and it failed. It didn't fail by much. So
no.
West Covina was almost called Fleetwood because that's what they that's the whoever won the contest. That's what it was.
Mhm.
Uh, Back then, Charles, where did everybody shop at?
Well, we had two places to go, actually three, 5 Points in El Monte, which was quite popular.
That's Crawford's, right?
Crawford's,
Okay.
Crawford's Market, by the Lion Farm.
By the Lions Farm.
Yeah, but most of us went to Baldwin Park or Covina. And Baldwin Park had a Safeway right downtown, and that was an outstanding store. And so many of the people worked in the store that we knew that farmed in the area as their sons. And they also had a hardware store and a pharmacy, uh, and they just at a bank, and they had a secondhand store, and they just had everything in Baldwin Park, and they had plenty of parking, and that made a big difference. They had a feed store, Purina Feed Store, and they had a veterinarian and several dentists, and it was a nice place. Do you remember when they used to put the vegetables out and they used to fog them with a mist of water?
I remember that.
I will never forget. As a young person, out that was outstanding. You could actually grab something and eat it, but they made you pay for it later. But that was a Safeway, and that was a big store. Baldwin Park was a big place. Oh, had a tailor. You could have suits made, and in those days, if you wanted a nice white shirt, they tailored it for you so
Wow.
it fit tightly. And do you remember the old feed bags? Do you remember those?
Yes, I do.
Okay, everybody bought feed bags, the patterns, and Purina had all this chicken feed and rabbit feed in different patterns. You could buy maybe 2 bags of the same pattern, and if your mother and your grandmother were not good seamstress, you could have them make you a shirt.
Okay.
And I guess that was the economy of the farming. The other area was Covina, of course. And Covina, I only remember, the only grocery store I remember was on College and 2nd Street, right there across from the 31 Flavors. But Covina had a lot more different type stores than Baldwin Park.
So that store across the street from 31 Flavors, that's a High Hole Market today.
High Hole Market,
Was
yes.
it High Hole Market back then?
I don't remember it too closely because why we went to Baldwin Park was there were young people they were young and they were teenagers and older that worked our farms here and their families, and they worked in the Safeway store.
Okay, so Safeway actually existed back in the 40s.
Yes, they
Okay,
did.
I didn't know the company was that old. Okay.
We sold our cauliflower to Safeway.
Okay.
We had to have all our cauliflower in by Thanksgiving. Had to be in the store, and all the farmers, not just us, you had to have a place for your vegetables to go. You couldn't wait and hope.
Okay.
And Mr. Hurst was the head of the Cauliflower Association, and we always worked with Safeway.
Okay.
But Covina had like bookstores, they had clothing stores, they had a bank, several banks, and they had a hobby shop, and of course a show house, and so did Baldwin Park, by the way. They had a show house, and nothing like going to the movies Saturday
I remember the old theater there on. We used to go as kids. It actually next door they had the movies, and then they had the stage. I remember they had a big stage there where they used to do the theater.
Yes.
I think it's all gone now, but I think the police department took it.
Do you remember the candy store next to the show house in Baldwin Park? They had a candy shop.
No,
Well,
I remember McNann's was at the corner, and then the pawn shop was where they had the big shootout. I remember that's and then Wally's Schwinn bike. Everybody
Oh,
went
yeah,
to
I
Wally's.
remember that.
He had one leg.
Yeah.
He lost his leg in the war. He had one leg. He used to go run around on that cart. He had like a little cart that he
Yeah.
used to run around on. Wally was a great guy.
Yeah.
He was one of a kind person there.
They in the candy store they sold root beer barrels, little barrels you could eat, and inside
okay.
was root beer. But they also stopped them. He sold cigarettes, candy cigarettes.
Okay.
And the town council said, no more of that. We'll all start smoking, I guess. And as I remember, that was kind of a thing. But you remember some of those nice things.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And we also had another question. And I guess Bob Hope made West Covina famous by saying West Covina was a speed trap in an orange grove. Well,
Yes.
the fact is, we did have a speed trap, and everybody thought it was to generate revenue, but really it was the city council was at war with the county over it. Charles, why don't you explain to
Okay.
us what happened?
They would have these terrible, and they were terrible, head-on collisions, especially with the San Bernardino Freeway and the other roads. But we're talking about the San Bernardino Freeway.
Now this is prior, because the freeway was built in '55, and prior to that it was Highway 99.
99.
Yeah, they were at war way before the freeway came in.
Yes.
Yes.
The county would allow you to make a left-hand turn
Okay.
in front of oncoming traffic, but you didn't have to go up to a stop signal or a stop sign. And you remember, and they just turned, and they'd have these terrible wrecks. And the city wanted a double yellow line
Okay.
between the 4 lanes of highway, 2 on each one, and the county wouldn't do it.
Okay.
So they started talking a chain link fence down the middle.
Okay.
But when the freeway was built, that was, well, they did put the speed trap on then too,
Yes.
and you had to slow down. I think it was 35 miles an hour.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really slow. They were
So when the freeway was built, there was no divider.
no divider.
Wow.
And they were doing then 60 miles an hour coming off Kellogg's Hill and coming after going beyond El Monte. It was wide open, and so our council and Vern Moninger,
Yes.
who's the mayor, said, you're going to put a fence down that middle of that freeway. We aren't going to have any more people killed. And I guess Caltrans or the county said, no way. So they just put a speed limit on it. I think it was 35. They cleared the Covina. And, I got to give them credit. They wouldn't remove it until they put the fence down.
Yes.
And the council wanted a chain link fence. And the reason for that is if you hit a chain link fence, it has like a spring in quite a large distance both ways, and you wouldn't be killed like if you hit concrete or divider.
Yeah, the K rails they have today.
Yes.
Okay.
And it is, but it's very expensive to fix because once they hit it, it's a long ways both ways. The fence is
Okay.
destroyed. One of the other ways they did this was they looked into, but there wasn't the room. As you drop out of the hill coming down off the Grapevine, Bakersfield put in oleander plants and planted a whole row of them for miles. And when they grew up, which only took a couple of years, when you hit that, the car just kind of stopped. The oleander's like hitting bamboo,
Okay.
It was very successful. But, of course, we didn't have the room on San Bernardino Freeway because I think between the...
There wasn't much room.
There wasn't much room, no. They had so that was interesting. And I give our council a lot of credit because basically I think they put chain link fence clear to LA eventually, didn't they?
did.
All the way out to Pomona. And our council stood firm.
Good.
Jay stood firm.
So also one more question. Somebody asked about the rodeo in West Covina. So I will tell you there was a couple of places. There was where McIntyre Square sits today,
Mm-hmm.
the Vanderhoofs, they raised Arabian horses. They had the little racetrack thing in there, and there was also Rancho Allegra, which stood on Hollenbeck, and it also had the same kind of little racetrack, I guess, where you run the horses. And our first rodeo was there on Citrus and Garvey, where McIntyre Square sits. That was our first rodeo.
Yes.
I don't know how many they had. I know they had a few, but that's where I saw the brochure, but it never said where it was at. But that's where it was at.
They had a pony ride. I remember.
Okay.
That. Yeah, that was fun. Yeah. And we'll go into why we didn't have horses and large animals here later sometime, because most of the farmers didn't. So we'll continue with that later.
Okay. Well, thank you, Charles. I hope that answers all the questions. And with that, we'd like to say thank you and have a nice day.
Thank you.